So they're calling this a win for Diddy. All right, welcome back to the channel. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all so much for coming over. It says judge orders prosecutors to destroy Diddy's jail cell notes found during the raid, when they raided his cell. I was also looking at some comments about, when I did my last video, how common it is. So this guy said they used to raid the cells like 3 times a day. So yeah, because it was just seeming like he thought he had like this type of privilege or so. I don't know. But we're going to check this video out again. Appreciate all the love and support with you guys coming over, watching, sharing. As news come out, I will continue to react to it, man. So ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
In the meantime, let's go back to New York City. Want to get some updates on the case that is unfolding there regarding Sean Diddy Combs. These were the courtroom sketches just today. We're turning our attention now there in case against Diddy and the possible resentencing of the Menendez brothers in Los Angeles. We'll get to that in just a moment here, but let's focus our efforts on New York. I want to get to these headlines in both cases, and we're going to do that with our friend Nima Rahmani, former federal prosecutor and legal analyst. He joins us. Nima, good to see you, and thanks for being with us here. You were tweeting about the Diddy case today. There was an emergency hearing called this afternoon at the courthouse in Lower Manhattan, the judge ordering the prosecution to turn over its findings from a jail cell raid, Diddy's jail cell, just yesterday. What were the contents of those raids?
Well, apparently, according to the defense, they're legal documents. The government's saying no, on the contrary, they're just some handwritten notes and a calendar. And what the judge did, Judge Subramanian, is he ordered the prosecution to destroy their copies. He kept copies, and he's going to review them in chambers or in camera. And one of two things will happen. Either the defense is right, and those are privileged materials, in which case they will not go to the prosecution, or the prosecution is right, and they have not.
So what? Okay. I'm listening. So they got some jail cell notes, and the judge is going to keep a copy. So they're trying to see if this stuff has any relevancy. I'm just trying to make sure nothing fishy is going on, man. I'm just trying to make sure, I had to pause and take that information he just said in and make sure I was hearing it right.
Nothing to do with the legal case, and the government will get copies. It's only 20 pages. I don't think it'll take the judge that long, but I think the media is reporting this as some huge win for the defense because the government has to destroy their copies. They may get copies of those documents in a matter of days. So I think it's premature to say that this is any type of victory for Sean Diddy Combs. Okay. Really, the only victory today was the judge said that he doesn't have to be shackled during the pendency of the proceedings in court. So I think that's a big win for him.
All right, yeah, Nima, I was going to characterize it as some type of victory for Combs. You kind of disabused me of that notion. Is it only because this is purely temporary, to your point, whatever was recovered there from the cell, these notes, the prosecution will eventually get their hands on? The judge just now saying for now they cannot.
That's it. If it is privilege, of course they won't. But if it really is what the prosecution says that has nothing to do with the case, or even worse, it's actually evidence of witness tampering, because we all know the attorney-client privilege, there's a crime fraud exception. You can't use your lawyer to perpetuate a future or continuing fraud or crime. So if the documents are what the government says they are, they're going to get them again. And again, it's just going to be a matter of days because I don't expect the review to take that long. So whatever victory the defense has is only temporary unless those documents truly are correspondence, letters, notes regarding legal advice pertaining to the trafficking case. If it is, then obviously the government can't have access to that. So we'll know very soon after the judge, Subramanian, conducts his review.
So after that review, is it up to the judge? Is it the judge's determination to essentially say Diddy was involved in witness tampering with the production of these notes? Who has the ultimate say on that?
So there's a few things going on. First is the privilege issue. The judge will decide whether the documents are privileged or not. If they're not, they're going to go to the government. If the documents are not only not privileged, but they're evidence of witness tampering, then a few things can happen, all of which are bad for Sean Diddy Combs.
Okay.
First, of course,
Right.
he could face obstruction of justice charges in a superseding indictment. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily going to add a lot of time, especially when he's facing racketeering and sex trafficking and prostitution counts already. But obstruction charges could be bad for the case, and this is why. Diddy's really only defense here acts were consensual.
Yeah.
So if the jurors hear evidence of him trying to blackmail,
Yeah, see, I always have to try to make that clear about the consensual things, adults. I'm pretty sure a lot of that was going on. People coming there to these parties and wanting to have a good time and all that type of stuff. But at some point, allegedly, these parties took a turn. And a lot of people who they're saying a lot of people who came there with the intention to maybe have consensual or take part or whatever the case may be, they're saying a lot of people were allegedly drugged, and taken advantage of. So, like you could think you come in there for one thing and then something else happened to you. That's basically what's going on here. So, all it should take is one person, right? If one person is alleging that happened, although it's a lot more, I'm just saying all it takes is one. So, yeah, I don't. That's the route he's trying to go, but they're like, hold on. So yeah, we're gonna see.
could be bad for the case, and this is why. Diddy's really only defense here is that the sex acts were consensual. So if the jurors hear evidence of him trying to blackmail, intimidate, bribe, pay off witnesses, or threaten them, that's all very bad evidence that's going to come into the trial. And of course, Diddy's hope is that these witnesses show up and do a 180, or even better, don't show up at all. So if the jurors hear him trying to dissuade those witnesses, that's going to be a big problem. But setting the case aside, the tampering is also bad for his chances to get out on bail on Friday. Right. And of course, he loses phone privileges entirely. Can't be making three-way calls or using other inmates' phone numbers to make those types of calls. Those violate the rules of the MDC.
So, but Nima, from what I understand about the judge's ruling today, whatever is contained within these notes of Diddy's, that will not matter. It won't be consequential to the bail hearing on Friday, that they won't be interlinked. You're saying they will?
Well, the government's going to try to argue that the witness tampering has happened. And even if they can't use those 20 pages, I think they have apparently evidence of Diddy using these pack numbers of other inmates, making three-way calls, trying to make calls through his family members. So, obviously, I'm a former federal prosecutor. I believe when prosecutors make a representation, they have the evidence to prove it. So even though if it's not these 20 pages, we'll see what they bring to that third bail hearing. But these are allegations they made during the second bail hearing. If we recall, Diddy apparently called one witness apparently 24 times over the course of a day or two. That's a problem. That's not what you're supposed to do if you care about the integrity of the proceedings.
So, but Nima, you're a former federal prosecutor. If you were prosecuting this case and you and your team had already seen the contents of these notes, how do you put the toothpaste back in the tube?
You can't. So what you're supposed to do, and this is something every prosecutor knows, and I hope the prosecutors in this case did it, you're not supposed to look at the documents until the privilege review has already been done. And what you do is you use a taint team. It's sometimes called a filter team or a dirty team. But these are agents that have nothing to do with the case, They're going to go through and they're going to conduct the review. If it's privileged or arguably privileged, they set it aside. They don't show it to those who are actually working on the case, because you're right. If the lawyers who are working on the case reviewed privileged materials, they're going to get disqualified from this case. It is a huge problem. So hopefully prosecutors did the right thing, kept this information separate, kept it in the taint team, and didn't actually review it.
Okay, so I asked this question out loud in the newsroom today after I heard that Diddy's jail cell had been raided. Do you need some type of probable cause or warrant to raid an inmate's jail cell while in detention for whatever reason here? Help me answer that question. And this goes to some of these privacy questions. Does an inmate, does a detainee have any privacy rights while being detained pending trial here? I mean, here on Live Now from Fox, as an employee of Fox television stations, Fox News Media, everything I'm doing right now here on Live Now is owned by Fox. Is that the same when it comes to these privacy rights for Diddy? These notes, does he own them? Does his prosecution or defense team own them? Or does no one own them?
Setting aside the attorney-client privilege, which is the most sacred of the evidentiary privileges, Diddy has absolutely no Fourth Amendment reasonable expectation of privacy in prison, period. His cell can be tossed at any time. Guards can go in. They can monitor his mail. They can record and intercept his phone calls. So he is not like you or I out in the public dealing with law enforcement. Fourth Amendment does not apply. So their Fourth Amendment argument is very, very weak. That's why they're going all in on this attorney-client privilege argument, because really that's one of the few constitutional rights that survives when you're in custody.
Okay. All right. Well, that question was answered. I do have another question. How many times can a person try to, get bailed out? Because they said this Friday, which is tomorrow, because today is Thursday, he's going to try to go get out on bail again. How many, is it as long as you have the money and resources to get out, you can? Because boy, all I think about is that movie, they cloned Tyrone. And the movie The Island. And if you've seen those movies, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They answered a lot. Because that video I watched the other day, it was, when I looked in the comment section, it was pretty crazy. Like, people saying, I don't know why he think like this isn't normal. Like, you can't, like, your cell can't be rated. Like, what privacy does he think he deserves or whatever, especially with all the stuff alleged against him. But yeah, thanks for that, because that really helped. But I mean, even with like how they were saying the lawyers, hopefully they didn't see the notes. I'm just like, even with that, there's still so much stuff, so much that's alleged. I don't know if they made a definite number, like this is how much time he's facing. I know it's been rumored, but I don't know if that's to be true, how much time he's actually facing. So with all this stuff coming in, I mean, it's just stuff on top. But again, that Bugsby guy said, we're trying to take down so many more people, companies, all that. So stay tuned. Appreciate you guys coming over and watching, man. Peace out.